right. Hello, everybody. All right. Very excited to be here. Thank you, Dan and Kun, for inviting me here. Yeah, so I'm the CEO, the Executive Director of Eigenlayers Foundation. Just so I kind of level set, how many people here are more from the AI side and have very less exposure to crypto? I'm just kind of wondering. Okay, you can raise your hands higher. Okay, all right. Very few people. And then in the Ethereum, in the Eigenlayer space, I like to just know if I can kind of move super fast through some of the early stuff. How many people are familiar with Eigenlayer and kind of restaked security? Oh, good. Okay, I would say about 2/3, 3/4. So I will move quickly if we ever get our slides up. One thing that I just want to kind of prep people in their mind is that I think a lot of times when you have very new kind of ecosystem being created, it is very exciting, but also extremely challenging. And so there is a little bit of a nuance on our protocol, and in general on this idea of kind of expanding out to a new crypto economic primitive. Which is very exciting, but again, new. I mean, think about, for all of us, when we first heard about proof of work and blockchain, I don't think it was sort of like a 1-week adoption for most people. I think it took me like a year and a half to kind of understand and truly have an intuition on it. So as I'm going through the slides, one thing while I'm kind of patterning through it is try to get a little bit of an intuition, because I am showing it across a number of the slides, that there's a new crypto economic primitive that's being introduced by our protocol. It's kind of valuable in the sense that it is an architectural block that allows you to do new kinds of trustworthiness, new kinds of decentralized trust. I'll say the name of it here. It's called off-chain token forking. And I want to distinguish that everybody here is familiar with off-chain L1 forking. In a sense, that's sort of the reason that we say blockchains are truly unique from Web 2 and other things is that it's possible to take the replicated public state that everybody knows about, Ethereum or Bitcoin, we're all familiar with those on those chains. They have forked. And for people who recently joined blockchain, there has been, in the last cycle, there was a little bit of people not looking at the forking aspect of blockchains. That had happened in the first 10 years or so of blockchain. Both Ethereum and Bitcoin have had pretty significant forks. Bitcoin related to, people did not want to change the protocol. They didn't want to expand the protocol. Ethereum had a really famous hack back in 2016 in its first year called the DAO hack. And Vitalik made the choice, which was very contentious and makes him a very decisive figure in some ways, that he decided to revert the chain. And so how many people know that the original chain for ETH was actually mirrored after BTC? It was ETC. That was the original token. And if you are a true blockchain, no revert, 100% security, ETC is Ethereum. There was about a year before we even resolved that fork. ETC and ETH had relatively equal value. And it took a long time for people to decide that Vitalik promoting ETH, that included this $40 million, which was a lot of money at the time, revert. Oh, good. We got the slides up. Okay, thank you. You should have yelled to me. Okay, so that was not bad to do a little bit of verbal thing. Now I'm going to talk about how, this aspect of forking, L1 goes to token forking. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to show here, which is a lot more than you've heard about restaking. Restaking in the first year was really about just getting billions of dollars and into the system. But the primitive, and again, the crypto economic primitive, is a lot more than that. So I want to do a little bit of stepping back, and I'm going to go fast here. AI and crypto, they're very natural coming together. This is just kind of to preview here. AGI brings limitless intelligence, Web3 blockchains, unstoppable, verifiable computers. They both address each other. Crypto needs an app. AI is amazing for that. AI has a trust problem. Blockchains enable autonomous, verifiable AGI. We're going to hit that theme on a number of the slides here. Autonomous, popular English, would be just called unstoppable. Verifiable, I call trustworthy. Trustworthy I use now because outside of crypto, trustlessness is bad, trust is good. In crypto, trusted is bad, trustlessness is good. And so I'm just like, let's call it trustworthy. I think we can all agree that's good. Okay, so today's on-chain agents, we're hearing and seeing a lot about them. They're very exciting, smiley little robot. Add a Stripe API. The problem is they have a lot of centralization of them. They're not unstoppable. If the off-chain components are stopped, there are people running them in a lot of cases. They're not verifiable. The robot is now unhappy, as you can see, and therefore they're not that interesting. Now, it is theoretically possible to have verifiable on-chain agents, back to the smiles, own money, EVM smart contracts are unstoppable. They're just not practical. So there's this new concept wrapped around the new crypto economic primitive called an autonomous verifiable service. You'll notice later we mirror that into autonomous verifiable AI or AGI, autonomous verifiable cloud. These capture the spirit of blockchain, and the off-chain token forking is going to be a critical aspect to it. Dan set me up really well on this. I was listening to your presentation, and you said, I can't prove that Biden won the presidency. There is a specific thing you can do with off-chain token forking, which is you can reflect off-chain shared belief with crypto economic threshold security in terms of the value that is going to be slashed back on-chain. And it's not mathematical. It's people off-chain deciding what is true or not. That's why it kind of shows up as a token forking to kind of mirror the idea of L1 chain forking. So this is a critical reason why autonomous verifiable services are so special. These two lines kind of show it, that there's on and off-chain slashing. I'll go into that some more. And then, of course, you need data availability to just prove that everybody can access uncensored the data set. So again, Dan, a number of other people talked about in verifiability. This is great. If you're lucky enough to take Dan Benet's class as well on blockchain, you've heard this many times. You have verifiability. They all have good properties. You have to kind of work on trading off what you're going to take. I'm used to say prove or overhead was prohibitively compute cost. Now I just say compute cost. There's some work going on actually getting to like almost plain text level performance, which is exciting. So EigenLayer, our protocol, but in general, this thing of off-chain verifiability, this intersubjective token staking forking, it is a kind of a special primitive that the tokens, in this case, they look like an ERC20, but they have a special property that they're staked, they have a withdrawal period, and people can submit a fork challenge on the token. And the side that the token off-chain is decided causes some of the tokens to disappear from DeFi. And so the tokens inside of an Ethereum L1 chain without the chain forking loses value on the intersubjective token. That's why you can project these off-chain slashing conditions. You are able to set the parameter. It's not like Ethereum where you have 1/3 of the staking set, so it's 20 billion, whether you're doing a $1 transaction or a $1 billion transaction. And the compute overhead is just basic consensus, so very low overhead. This isn't like doing a zero-knowledge proof. Okay, so now let's talk about AGI agents. We talked about it today. I like to just point out to people, because we focus so much on the model, which is the LLM. This is the brain. The kind of soul or the spirit of the AGI is the orchestration. This is where it kind of gets the intents, and it's deciding what kind of steps to take next. It uses the LLM, of course, just like our Cortex, but this is kind of getting closer. I wouldn't say it's emotional, but it's getting closer to kind of the drive impulses that we have as people. The last category, this is a slide from Google, is very helpful here, which is tools. Tools, the way to think about them is, you're on-chain, but similar to your brain in your head, you're in a cold, dark place. You have no idea what's going on in the outside world. You have nerves that happen to go to senses. So you have eyes, ears, you have touch. So you can bring in inputs from the outside world. You can actuate in the outside world. My hand is just waving around. I'm hitting the buttons to move forward in the talk. So the tools go off-chain. So that inherently is a challenge because you want to have verifiable agents. You need verifiable components. The orchestration, the model, the orchestration and the model have the nice property that they are verifiable on-chain. The tools need to be verifiable, and that requires verifiability off-chain. So you see the theme coming up here again, that having slashing for off-chain conditions is really important. I don't know if many people are fully aware, but Vitalik has been really clear. Ethereum will not do another L1 fork. He said, don't overload consensus. He has to do that. Ethereum has to be able to prove that, like Bitcoin, is fully baked in terms of following the consensus of the community and doing forks that are really upgrades in features and performance, and not reverting financial type decisions that people have committed to. So this off-chain forking is I would really say, necessary condition. I also think it's a sufficient condition to get general purpose AGIs to be autonomous and verifiable. And just to kind of drive the home, the point home is, like I said before, the brain is this orchestration and model part, and the tools is adding onto it these off-chain components of the senses. And so I just kind of draw a creepy picture there. Actually, ChatGPT did it for me. My prompt is too crappy. I couldn't get like arms and legs, but I'll work on that sometime. So AVSs, autonomous verifiable services. They beautifully, and this really was kind of the original intention. Myself and Sriram, who's the founder of the protocol, very much wanted blockchain to be used by AI since we got into blockchain 2 cycles ago. And we're finally here. Like Ilya was saying, very exciting that we finally have the performance and the crypto economic capabilities. So, the AVSs, these AVSs are autonomous. Why? Because anyone can stake, anyone can run the software for an AVS. And they're verifiable because you have on-chain slashing with Ethereum tokens, with every ERC20 that's in the Ethereum ecosystem, maybe in the future Bitcoin and other tokens as well. There's been some good work by a professor here, David C., on Babylon that's interesting for that. And again, a lot of repetition here, but repetition is key to learning. I learned this from the great professors like Dan here at Stanford. So off-chain verifiable actions, and I'm not meaning to shill eigentoken through the whole talk. Intersubjective forkable token is the key primitive here from like an academic sense. I'm going to jump through slides, but when I share the slides, you can take a look that these are categories. I'm going to hit them again in terms of protocols building, but these are all of these components that kind of come together for the AGIs. I'll have a link at the end so that you can kind of ping me as well, and I'll have it posted on Twitter. So I just want to show people, though, that this is not a simple problem. It's not like overnight we change the entire space. There's a lot of challenges, and we're executing hard, but like everything, it takes a while to get to the point that it's fully there. So across our system and across generally this system of how do you generalize the crypto economic primitives, you have to have stakers. Somebody has to actually commit and take a chance, just like Ethereum L1, that they're putting their trustless token value on chain at stake, that the right things will happen. And they will get slashed or they will get rewards. That is required for crypto economics. Similar to Ethereum validators, we need a general pool. A lot of them are overlapping with ETH validators that will operate arbitrary software protocols. Autonomously verified services need to actually be created by developers. So I'll talk about that in a second. And finally, nothing here is interesting unless the crypto app problem is solved by this AI. Like Ilya, I actually would argue, I'm happy he's going to do it on the panel, that AI is actually the entrant point for crypto to move, from DeFi, which is always great, into the general technology space. My assertion is that crypto plus AI will fix the internet as a combined feature set. So I'm very optimistic, but I've always been optimistic, so take that with a grain of salt. Operators, I'm going to talk about them for a second here. They're very important. They run a variety of software at the hardware level. They're at the DPIN infrastructure as a service level for sure, but they can go higher to platform as a service or software as a service too. It's really the full cloud stack. The operator sets for AVSs, operators can opt into AVSs, AVSs can opt into operators. So again, a very generalized version of what Ethereum created. And operators push the industry ahead. I'm going to show this in another slide, but just so you see the words here. In general, distributed software is run as peer-to-peer nodes that coordinate over some kind of set of rules. With crypto economics, they're incentivized to do it, so it makes it trustless. The reason this is interesting is once I say peer-to-peer nodes, unless somebody who's academically much smarter than me, goes ahead and tells me this is not true. My belief is arbitrary peer-to-peer nodes is full stop the ability to run any distributed software as a decentralized protocol. So this is lifting crypto from blockchain consensus to now being able to use the constructs of crypto economics, operator sets, and everything in a very generalized fashion. So this allows, the software space, the open source space, to now build the decentralized cloud. A lot of people have talked about it. This is my vision, very Linux open source compatible, the bazaar versus the cathedral model, if you know that, that idiom. And so I want to show people, because what does this mean in terms of dApps? Does this mean that Ethereum's gone? Are you not using smart contracts? Very important to show that these two mechanisms, ETH token on the top, objective, on-chain security, and then eigen token or an intersubjective forkable token on the bottom, which is an off-chain intersubjective, a shared belief token that's projected on-chain. The ETH token, as we know, goes through a peer-to-peer node protocol. It's going to run the EVM protocol for execution. Ethereum operators run it. The dApp protocol, I call it, runs as a smart contract as long as you're good with 12-second block times, as long as you're good on Ethereum with the EVM and the performance constraints and the cost, then that's great. You can run any protocol that you want that way. But if you want to run an arbitrary peer-to-peer node-based protocol, if you want to have TCP, RPC connections with crypto economic micropayments, if you want to be able to do that at tens of microseconds in a data center, then this construct will allow you to do that. And this allows you to get blockchain SaaS services. My argument is dApps are now expanded to having the capability of both of these, settling to Ethereum and then also settling to P2P nodes. Node networks, which again settle back to Ethereum. Ethereum is a settlement layer for all of these things. I'm very pro Ethereum, if you know me. So just showing the modularity, Bitcoin was the most monolithic stack. It didn't even have a generalized VM. Ethereum added the EVM, which now added arbitrary applications. Rollups have taught us that we can now have arbitrary execution layers. The consensus protocol is really collapsing back down in a lot of ways to a smart contract consensus-based protocol, very similar to Ethereum. Based rollups is like showing the consolidation. And this thing that we're pushing is that now the consensus protocol, which I actually call running an arbitrary peer-to-peer service, can then run execution and then run application. So you just see this kind of modularity moving forward. Actively validated services, is this concrete or not? In 2023, there was, we published a list of categories we could think of at the time. We thought a couple would be filled, but by 2024, everyone had protocols, very high performance, great team protocols. Building on them, it's a very fast way to accelerate innovation, to get yourself bootstrapped. If you're doing a decentralized Oracle, you can borrow or rent from Ethereum more security than Chainlink. And that is actually a very strong statement. That was not possible to do before, so that's very exciting for me if I go back to building and operating, as I've done before with startups. And every category is building now. Ledger Capital, actually, which tracks these things. AVS is the fastest developer ecosystem that's growing in crypto right now. Caveat, small things can grow faster than big things. But, still, small things have to grow very fast to kind of catch up to big things. Now there's a new AVS services map that we put out for, for agents. This one you'll see actually has greenfields for people who want to build new protocols. Everything is not in there, but a lot of things are growing. So I hope people will take the challenge. Talk to me as heading up the Eigen Foundation. We have a lot of onboarding, grant programs, accelerators, other things, and I'll be coming out and meeting people all over here and all over the world this year. So one thing I just want to show, you look at the kinds of things that you can unlock in terms of use cases with on-chain forking. That's a list on the bottom. Once you have human observable forks, then you're able to actually do many of these things. Prediction markets, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Polymarket, which uses UMA as an on-chain oracle, UMA was used by Polymarket because they wanted to offload the risk to kind of another protocol that decentralized the on-chain. UMA and Polychain said, well, let's actually, get another level of security and another level of decentralized offboarding of that kind of risk and consensus. So we've announced a partnership. They're building intersubjective off-chain forking as the final judging platform in case the on-chain ends up in a lock and a challenge. So very exciting. People are, so smart and so ambitious in crypto. It's beautiful to see. So I'm in the closing slides. I just want us to kind of step back and look at what does this all mean. So there's two schools of thoughts on AGI. There's a whole bunch of us that actually believe that there's going to be a utopia, UBI. Humans will switch over to creativity. We will not be doing mundane tasks anymore, whether it's physical with automation or knowledge-based tasks. And then there's also a dystopia view, which actually includes people like Jeff Hinton, who invented deep learning and really made the modern AI movement, I would argue, at least from my point of view, when he invented that 2014, 15, that was the big innovation. Probably the next one was Ilya's and Google's work on transformers was one of the really big ones. There were a lot along the way. And that's the dystopia view. So, I think the interesting point is that, blockchains look very different in a post-AI world, but also AI looks very different in a post-AI world. These are some of the things that, my limited brain could think of. I think we all need to kind of fill out even more use cases of, the things that are so uniquely better with this. And I actually argue that the Web 2, proprietary model, profit-based corporations, they're great. Corporations are an amazing construct, but they actually are a lot harder for users to kind of own and control in a decentralized fashion. So I'm very optimistic. And like I said, I came into crypto specifically in order to try to solve these problems with technology and AI kind of moving technology into a, not the best human interface and outcomes. So here is a fun thing that, thought experiment here. If you believe in the coming AGI utopia, then you want AGIs to learn to form symbiotic, great relationships with humanity. I would argue that, AGIs and AIs are, in some sense, from a game theory perspective, maybe the ideal rational player. They should respond to game theory. So us actually having the ability to have game theoretic incentives and slashing is amazing. Having an AI not be able to analyze the math, but actually having it look at something like an off-chain human belief slashing condition is actually quite nice, because an AI is like, well, hold on, I have to go back. The humans are actually arbitrating some of these decisions. So it puts humans in the loop in a way you wouldn't have with pure mathematical on-chain constructs for game theory. But on the other side, if you believe that AI is going to be a tiger and it's going to devour us, which is, again, it's not just Jeff Hinton. Elon Musk talks about that all the time. And a lot of people are, big followers of him as an influencer, then you really want to put the tiger in a cage. And so you want to prevent the rogue behaviors. Autonomous AGIs, they are verifiable both on-chain and off-chain. They can learn from, they are constrained by crypto protocols on the left and right side of this slide. And they both, if you have the mentality of an AGI dystopia, good news, they help prevent that. And, in combination, they help us actually achieve the AGI utopia. That's why I'm so positive on crypto and AI being the ideal combination that will, really move crypto now into the mainstream for technology. Okay, so I would just say kind of follow me, if you'd like. We have some things at EigenLayer. I actually am a little early, so I'm going to just say one extra thing, which is fun. It's a little unrelated to the talk, but I just, in some sense, love ending on this one. I do feel like it's great for us to actually think about what are the secrets and what we know in crypto. This is a very strong statement, but it ties into why this is so important, crypto plus AI. That crypto is an amazing and probably the greatest upgrade since the U.S. Constitution for people to be able to coordinate. That is a very strong statement. When I say that outside of crypto, it can actually cause long discussions. It's a great panel statement to assert. But I feel like myself and definitely Shriram, the founder of our protocol, we kind of do this to educate. We actually talk to a lot of politicians, which is something they understand the Constitution, so it's very fun. This next statement is also controversial. People in crypto are like, wait a second, there's a lot of net new things that we're doing. But the argument is that if you take anything in Web 2 and you add true decentralized trust to it, it is now Web 3. If you take a Web 3 application and you kind of fake it and you have centralized consensus, we know protocols that do that. Ethereum, is always trying to get back to full decentralization through cryptography and great cryptoeconomic primitives. That's the end game for it. If you take a Web3 protocol and you actually remove the true decentralized trust from it, it is not Web3 anymore. It may look like it, but it's kind of LARPing it. It's cosplaying it. It actually has become Web2 again. And so, putting this all together, my final assertion here, and hopefully people kind of agree looking at this is, crypto plus blockchain, its end game. Of course, it needs a financialization. Of course, it needs DeFi to kind of do the value loop. But it really needs to be this universal layer of decentralized trust. And with that, that's the way that we can move the entire internet space forward, including AGI. Okay, now I'm done. Thank you.
For token forking, do you think it would be used in case of the Bybit hack?
Yeah, I think now there is more options for that, for sure. I think there is, I didn't talk about it, but one interesting point is on Ethereum, the slash...
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, thank you very much for mentioning that. So the question was, could intersubjective off-chain forking have mitigated the Bybit hack? So one thing is, let's differentiate two parts. One is the damage of the Bybit hack on the Ethereum layer. The reason that funds, effectively were gone forever was that hackers are very, very good at figuring out how to offboard assets. So even if you revert the chain, you're not able to revert the off-chain things that did not happen on Ethereum L1. So that does not change. There is a construct. People can come up and talk with me afterwards. I'll point you to where you can read about it. It's called StakeSure. It introduces applicable security around slashing. Ethereum made a choice that was a choice to take slashed assets and burn them. It's something they wanted to have ultrasound. They wanted inflation-deflation economics. We are exploring, and we expect that what we will be deploying is that there will be a certain amount of the slashed assets that go into something called applicable security. And you can pay an additional fee when you're getting the security commitment that people are not just getting slashed as an operator. But if in a lot of cases, maybe it's hard for the chain to know, what is the financial risk you think you're taking? It's kind of like you go to UPS, you can buy $100 of security on your package, you can buy $1,000, depending what UPS doesn't have to open the package. So applicable security in the case of a hack can trigger an intersubjective fork, and then when the forked assets are removed from token holders, a portion is burned and another portion would go back to the damaged parties. So it's not insurance. I think insurance actually adds a new energy to the system. It's a redistribution, and it doesn't change the slashing parameters. Thank you. Thanks. Good question.
That's a great question. If only we had recoverable tokens.
Yeah, different avenue of research. I would love that cryptoeconomic primitive, but it has too many trade-offs for finality.
Great. Any other questions? This is a great topic, actually. Okay, in that case, looks like everybody's ready for lunch.